Yo, what's going on, guys? It's Tom and welcome back to a brand new video, and this is episode number 3 of my Nebula Racing League highlights for the 2016 season, and we are here for round 3 of the championship at Catalonia in Spain. And this is a track that I actually quite enjoy. It's actually pretty good. It's quite rewarding and quite flowing when you get it all together, and I was quite looking forward to this one. Unfortunately though, my pace wasn't absolutely great. I've had better pace elsewhere, like at Bahrain and Australia in the previous 2 races, and I found myself in 4th place after qualifying, and the top 4 actually covered by around 3/10, so very tight qualifying with Craig Baxter taking out the pole position, and then Sam Carpenter almost just missing out by half a tenth in 2nd place, and then Kieran a 10th and a half down the road, and then I was in 4th, 2nd row the grid to me, and that is good enough. Only 7 people managed to qualify in Q2, as there were a few people who made mistakes on their laps, so it was very tricky Q2 final part of qualifying, and you can definitely see that there was a real struggle to get a lap in, but eventually the top guys did get their laps in. And as you can see, I'm just lined up from my grid spot here on the left hand side of the track for P4 on the grid, and the last cars are just getting to the back of the grid now, and we're going to get ready for the race here and the 5 red lights as we go on board. And I've got a new graphic in the bottom left, as one of you suggested in the comments last race, to know exactly what tyre compound I'm on, and hopefully you find that helpful. But nevertheless, we're going to get up to the 5 red lights for the Spanish Grand Prix, and we are going to get underway here, getting a pretty decent start straight off the line. And Sam ahead of us spins out there, almost just about catches it there off the line, but a terrible start from Sam Carpenter from 2nd on the grid, which allows me to overtake him. But there's Scott Davison in the sister 14 is having a look at my inside at turn number 1 as we negotiate now turn number 2. Scott on my outside eventually decides to back out, do the sensible thing and let me through, and so far so good as I gained 1 place off of the start up into P3, and I'm now hunting down Kieran Chadwick and Craig Baxter, who are the 2 faster guys in my opinion around here. And I was really struggling for pace, so I was going to need something to happen between these 2, or maybe Mother Nature have a little bit of a sprinkle in order for me to catch them. And speaking of a sprinkle, that is exactly what was expected this race. As you can see on lap 5 now, the rain is really coming down, and this is where we decided to roll the dice. Me and Craig, the guys in 1st and 3rd, decided to come to the pit lane and roll the dice for intermediates, but Kieran Chadwick crucially has actually stayed out on the soft tyres 1 more lap. And in hindsight, I'm going to tell you now, because you can't see it on screen, this was the wrong decision to make, because right now, as me and Craig were pitting, we both realised that the rain wasn't going up anymore, and it wasn't raining any harder. It was actually starting to go back down again. So in other words, what that meant is that there was really no need to go into the intermediates, because the track would eventually just dry back out. But nevertheless, it's a bit of a dodgy strategy call, but you got to roll on with it nevertheless and see what you can do with the tools at your disposal. And right now, I am on the intermediates, and we're going to follow Craig out of the pit there. And I actually had a quite slow pit stop there for some reason. I don't know why I lost so much time, but I must have had to have served some damage or something, because that was a very slow pit stop with the Williams actually coming back out ahead of me there. So a bit of a strange pit stop. I don't know why it was so long, but I lost a bit of time there. Also, looking now 1 lap later, you actually see that the rain has completely stopped already, so it's taken no more than a lap for the rain to stop, and I'm responding straight away by coming back into the pit lane, and I'm actually going to fit on a set of dry tyres again. And crucially, Craig Baxter has actually stayed out on the intermediate tyres, but I'm coming in to get rid of these inters and put on a set of hard tyres and hope that the rain actually stays away, and I can go quite long on these tyres and maybe go even to the end if possible, because it's going to be a bit of a stretch, but if I can drag these to the end, that might bring me back into contention for the end of the race. So that was my hope when I went onto these hards, and that would be the objective from now on out. So I'm actually going to rejoin way down in P14, almost an entire lap down on the race leader, which is actually Kieran Chadwick at this moment in time. And it was definitely not a very good strategy call from me, and I'm only 7 laps into the race, so this is going to be a very long race and a very long recovery drive. But as you can see now on lap 8 on lap 8, going to side and race, should I say, there's actually a couple of cars in the pit lane, which allows me to overtake and gain a couple of positions, but I'm still miles down. And looking at the rain now, it's really starting to pick up, which is quite worrying, because I just pit just now for dry tyres once again, and the rain is now coming back down, so that is very, very worrying indeed. And as you can see now on lap 8, we've got a car there who's just spun round on the exit of the hairpin. I believe it's Philip Wilmer or Garcia Crespo. I'm not sure who it is, but it's one of the Renaults who's had a problem there, and that's actually going to allow me through into P12 now. But look at this, the sliding conditions, it's just too wet, and I've got the strategy call completely wrong again by going back onto the dries. And crucially, Craig Baxter, who pit earlier in the race with me for intermediates, he actually stayed on the inters, and that has worked out an absolute treat for him, because the rain has come straight back down, and this time it is really raining heavily. I can tell you that this time this was definitely intermediate worthy, because the rain was just really coming down. So I'm going to come into the pits and come in for my 2nd set of intermediates for the race. So a very poor race for me in terms of strategy. Almost hit the back of the Renault there, who just pit ahead of me. But like I was saying, a very poor race for strategy for me so far, and we still got so many laps left to go. So there's going to be a massive recovery drive that I'm going to have to really pull off this race and see what I can do. I mean, miracles do happen, I guess, so I'm just going to have to try my best and see if I can salvage a couple of points in the Drivers' Championship and do some damage limitation, because so far it's been a bit of a dodgy season for me, where I've had 3 races where nothing's gone my way, and meanwhile we've got a Renault here, I believe another one. I think this is Garcia Crespo who's overtaken me for now, and he's actually on the intermediates already, so a brilliant strategy call from the Renault. He actually put a lap before me and he managed to get the jump on me, but however now I am on the intermediates and I'm the faster driver, so I'm right on the back of him here, and now throughout this just cloud of mist that you can't see, I'm actually gaining on the Renault. It wasn't this bad in the actual live race itself, but in the replay camera it looks much worse. But here we go, making a move up the inside of the Renault driver, up the inside of turn number 1. It gives us a good old squeeze onto the apex. Can we try and hang around the outside? No, we don't. We go for the switchback at turn 2, and we're going to try and go around the outside of turn number 3. Can we make the move stick here? Side by side stuff, and yes I do. Fantastic move around the outside of the 3rd corner, and definitely one that I was very proud of at the time, and one that I would I was really satisfied with at the time when I did it. So a very nice move there, and that got me actually into P11, and there's now, looking on lap 11, there's a car in the pit lane I believe, which is actually going to promote me into P10, back into the points, and the recovery drive has pretty much well and truly started, as I'm slowly making my way now back into point scoring positions. And later on lap 11, if you look on the left hand side here, there's some debris there, and that was actually the Williams of Fred Borden I believe, who actually crashed out of the race, so that promotes me up into P9 now. And a couple of laps later we're on the back of Mike Payman, who is in the Sauber, and he is struggling on his intermediate tyres, and I'm all over the back of him as he gets a bit of a sneaky exit out of the final little flip-flop chicane, and I'm actually going to get a lovely little run on Mike down the pit straight here, side by side stuff, Ferrari versus Renault engine down into turn number 1, and it's a question of who is going to blink first into the braking zone. I'm going to try and brake as late as I can. Mike actually gets much better braking than me, but I'm going to have the much better racing line, and I'm just going to squeeze him onto the curb there, and eventually he lets me through, and that is me all the way up into P8. So some very, very good recovering so far, and just get myself way back into the points, which is crucial for me. And we're now actually going to have to come in for another pit stop now, lap 18, because these intermediates are actually starting to overheat, and the track, if you can see, the rain has stopped. So obviously the rain has stopped, so therefore we're going to go into dry tyres and make the call, and hopefully this time we actually get it right, because I believe most people have pit for dries anyway, so I'm just going to come in for dries, do what everybody else is doing and play it safe. The rain, I think the worst of it has just gone by now, so I'm taking a risk and I'm going onto the medium tyres, and the reason I'm doing this is because if I can go mediums to the end, then that would be fantastic, because that would save me a pit stop. So that would be very, very nice if I could drag these mediums out for about 15 laps. That would be absolutely great. So we're going to get underway now, up to speed, and we're going to rejoin comfortably, I think, in P10. So that was actually quite a successful pit stop, but unfortunately the rain made a return on lap 24. As you can see, the rain has started once again, and I'm running on the mediums, and there's Evan Bryce, who's in P9, and he's on the intermediates. He's actually coming in for inters, responding to this next shower of rain, and right now it's going to be dries versus intermediates, and I actually get the upper hand off the start here, getting the much better grip. But unfortunately the rain did continue, and this did mean that Everton actually got a much better grip on the inters, and obviously my grip on the mediums was fading away because of the water on the track. And as you can see, here comes Evan. I get a massive tank slapper out of the exit of the final corner, which allows Evan to come alongside me. I cut him off there, but eventually Evan gets the much better run down the pit straight, using a little bit of slipstream on me. He eventually manages to pull to the inside, and now it's a question of who can brake later into turn number 1. I've got the dry racing line. I'm going to try and match Evan on the brakes, but I lock up both front tyres and almost spin out, and eventually Evan gets the move done there. There's pretty much nothing I can do because of the conditions, which were deteriorating quite rapidly. But eventually, as you can see now, lap 28, if we look on the left hand side once again, my teammate Nick Brackey's actually crashed out of the race. He's in the wall there, and I can tell you he lost, I think, his right front tyre, his left front tyre. So that was my teammate out of the race, who was actually having quite a solid Grand Prix, and that promotes me up into P9. And we're now on the back of Evan Rice. As you can see, his intermediates are starting to fade now, because if you look on screen, the rain has stopped. The track is wet, but the rain has stopped, and the track's drying up real quick. And I actually overtake Evan here, but there was some lag. Evan seemed to lag back, which allowed me ahead of him. You saw there, if you watch it back, you see what I mean. But Evan just lagged behind me there, and I just basically went through him. So nice easy overtake for me, which I'm not going to complain about. And that was pretty much it. As we go to the final lap of the race now, I did have a full seat ahead of me, which was Scott Davison, and this would be for P7 if I could pull this off. So some decent points considering the horrific race that I've had. And as you can see, Scott's just there ahead of me, and he's actually overtaken a Ferrari, I believe, of Max Shepard. Yeah, that's the Ferrari. That's Max Shepard there. And I can tell you, and sorry Max if you are watching, but 1. Mac actually thought that the race had ended 1 lap before, so he was cruising thinking that the race was over. Meanwhile, me and Scott Davison were pushing 110% to the finish line to try and get maximum points. And here we go then, coming through the final chicane for the final time. Scott runs in a little bit deep, which allows me to get a massive run. I'm going to try and stick my nose up the inside, but the track is just a bit too wet, and Scott is on very worn intermediates. I can tell you, he stayed on the inters, and he's just about made it work as we come across the line, and I can't beat Scott, so Scott manages to hold on to P6, and I come home in P7. But if I just had one more lap, I would have been able to pass Scott, because he was on very worn intermediates, and also my mediums were on about 50% worth of health left. They were quite worn, so we were both on very worn tyres, but I had the better tyres for the conditions. And overall, these were the final race results. As you can see, Craig takes out the race win thanks to that brilliant strategy called by staying on to the intermediates, doing what I should have done ideally. And then Sam Carpenter taking second with Kieran ran off the podium. Then Philip in 4th, Asger Hebsgaard in a very good 5th place for him, Scott Davison in 6th, myself in 7th, Mac in 8th, Evan in 9th, and then Mike Payman ran off the top 10 and the point scoring positions. But nevertheless, guys, hopefully you have enjoyed this video, and if you have, then please do smash that like button and let me know that you're enjoying these videos. And if you're new on here, please be sure to subscribe to my channel, as I really would appreciate it. And yeah, guys, that's all for this video. I'll be Thomas MSD, and I'll see you in my next one very, very soon. Goodbye.